this level of usage.
Yeah. So welcome to Success Paradigms. It's a program where we interview people that have been successful, are successful in some way in life. And today we have Andrew Barker, my co-host. I'm Emilio Garcia, and we have the greatest privilege of having Jorge Ferraez with us from Latino Leaders. Hey, Jorge, are you out there?
Yes, I am here, and happy to be with you and Andrew.
Thank you. So one of the things, Andrew, I'll challenge you for next week to be able to do what I did, wherever we have video guests, have the logos of ourselves and our guests in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jorge, let's start this. Just would like to hear a little bit from you. Where are you from? How did you? Because I understand you're like me. You born and raised in Mexico, and then you moved up here. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Sure, of course. Well, I was born in Mexico. I was raised there by my family. My father was an architect. I have a younger brother, and a year and a half younger than me, and then I have a sister 6 years younger than me. My mom was a business administrator, and from a very early age, we learned about the discipline of work. And I don't know, it was something that I also was in my genes, because I always was relentless in terms of I wasn't satisfied with just sitting there and watching TV or just hanging around. I always wanted to do things and always was admiring people. And I was a big admirer of the people who were famous or rich or successful or relevant for any reason. And from a very early age, I started reading biographies and wanted to follow the leaders. And I was very impressed by stories like the biography of people like Walt Disney or Benito Juarez in Mexico, or the founders of companies that have their name into like Philips, the bulbs, and so many. So
that's interesting. So yeah, I read a couple of the biographies. Walt Disney is a real good one. If you have time, and I do see time, there's one in Audible that's like 50 hours long. It's very detailed, but it's very, very good. And there's another book I read for Disney called The Disney Wars, which was all the struggles that Walt and Roy had building that company, because it was not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And now I am, just to expand on that little note, I am now very into the halfway reading the biography of Robert Ikin, which was the CEO for Disney for the last 20-something years, and he is one of the most influential people in the Walt Disney Company. He acquired the Pixar studios and Star Wars and a great story, by the way, and a company that creates content, and a company that has a very simple mission, which is making people happy. And somehow, I never thought it before, but now that we are talking about it, it was one of my dreams when we were starting all these. I also wanted to have a company that produced content and made people happy. And but I went forward. Like I made a leap of maybe 30 years here. Do you want me to
yes, please
go back to the source? So I went to college there, mass communication in Universidad de Anáhuac in Mexico City.
Oh, one of mine.
Hoping to become maybe a TV anchor or a TV producer. At the same day that I started my college, I also started working in a big network and TV production emporium at that time called Televisa in Mexico. And I wanted to become like a producer or something. So I became immediately both enrolled in the university and started working. So for 5 years, I was very fortunate. I didn't have any minute to rest, but I was very fortunate to be a complete student at my degree of mass communication and also a full-time employee in Televisa. And that gave me a lot of experience, and I met a lot of people, and that defined me on what I wanted to do next. So, and here I need to take a little bit of the story of my brother, because my brother wanted also to pursue a career in the media. And we were pretty close in terms of relations and friendships and visions. Not necessarily were, the best friends, but we were looking towards the same things. So when I finished college and finished my education, not my degree though, because I got my degree not until 5 years later. I started working immediately, and I kept working. And at that time, my brother said, maybe we should start something together, a business, or I don't know why. And I was so happy working in Televisa. It was my world. It was my, I was producing telenovelas. I was producing musical groups. I was in charge of groups like Timbiriche and Menudo and Magneto, and I was producing TV musicals. And I was in all that farandula world that was very appealing, and I was having a lot of fun, making money, and very happy. But then
that's very cool. So my wife, you might know this, you might not, her cousin, one of her cousins was in Mercurio, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to go back to that one in a second. So if you don't mind, we'll be right back. This is Success Paradigms. I'm Emilio Garcia, and I have with me my co-host,
Andrew Barker, o Andrés.
Andrés, el pinche gringo.
El pinche gringo, soy yo.
Welcome back to Success Paradigms. This is Emilio Garcia and my co-host, the pinche gringo, or as we call him, Andrew Barker, Andresito. So we're talking here with Jorge Ferraez from Latino Leaders, and he was telling us about his story, how he started always reading and trying to be in the media and be a producer or something like that. And apparently he worked with my wife's cousin at some time in one of those boy bands down in Mexico. Anyway, Jorge, can you let's talk a little bit about that one, because I know that could have gone a lot of different ways, man.
Yeah, I was having a lot of fun, and I remember my last one of my last experiences was with a producer of a TV series that became the first producer of musical theater in Mexico, and we went to England to talk to the one of the biggest names in the musical industry, called Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I remember being in that office and trying to acquire certain rights to produce those plays, those musicals in Mexico under Televisa production. And I remember that he told us, many Mexicans have come and asked me to sell or to give this permission, but my only consideration will be Televisa, because Televisa is a big production company with no resources limitation. So I trust they will do a big good job. And they wanted everything. They wanted to be shown the contracts of rent that we have for actual theaters and theater buildings in Mexico in order to do that. I mean, they were very, very strict, but that was one of the last projects that and so we produced Cats. Then we produced Starlight Express, and then we produced, which one? We produced another one, and then we started producing Les Miserables with another company from there. And it was there when my boss fired me.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how did you transition from that world to having your own business? But I guess that was the start.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get a little bit of a push.
So one of these days, he just calls me to his office and says, I see that you're having a lot of fun. You are doing a great job. I don't have any complaints, but I need to fire you. And I said, but why? And he told me, if I don't fire you, you will be always in this comfort zone of this company. And one day you would realize that you have worked a lot of years and you have had nothing in return. So I think you are old enough now to go and start something by yourself. Your brother, you have a project, do it. And if you ever need something, come back, doors will be open.
Wow, that sounds like a great, not only boss, I would say he was more of a mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, and with that, I came to my brother, said, I'm workless now, so we need to start something soon. And that's where we started thinking of what. And we already have had talks about doing something, and that is where we decided to start publications. Why publications? Because we couldn't afford a radio station, and we couldn't afford a TV station. At that time, those were the only three media. There were no podcasts, no internet, nothing. No. So
yeah, for podcasts, you didn't really need too much resources for a podcast.
It was either TV, radio, the signs outside,
the billboard,
or press. And press was the least expensive. And since we were not rich, we didn't have any father or any uncle rich and powerful and influential that could give us some help. We started by our own, and we started
at what point did you decide to move from Mexico to the US?
Oh, that was like 15 years later.
Oh wow. Okay.
So first we started a group of small magazines in Mexico. This was in 1987. And I was 22. I was 22 at that time. And we started like 2 or 3 little magazines. They were enough to keep us, advancing and give us some money to pay rent and pay bills and things like that. And then we wanted to try to find a partner, someone that could help us with not only with money but with connections and all that. And we started, approaching certain people. We were about to convince a couple of people to do something. And there was at that time a very, very famous radio host in Mexico City that had probably one of the most popular newscasts in the morning. And the name of his program was Monitor de Radio Red. And he was very famous.
I remember that one.
And we were very friends of him because of our little magazine. And we always convinced him to come and invest with us. And, he was rich and powerful at that time. And his boss, the owner of the station, Radio Programas de Mexico, told him, no, you cannot partner with the Ferraez brothers to do anything. You are my employee, so you need to keep working for me. And one of these afternoons, he called us to his house, and we had this conversation. He told us, I'm very sorry. I never expected this kind of response from my boss. So once again, me and my brother were out on the street with nothing but ourselves. And that's when we decided just go ahead. and we started trying to sell in advance. And the first people